Alright everybody, here we are again with part 3 of a 4-part series for this skill-less, itemless, augment-less, and realistic difficulty run of Deus Ex. So we just got done with the Cathedral, blocked Gunther, Herman rather, behind some ambrosia crates. We are going to Morgan Everett's house and are going to be getting through that pretty easy. That's mostly, again, Morgan Everett's house is another point in the game where it's a super interesting change of pace. No enemies other than the mechanic guy that you can kill, but he's not really an enemy. It almost feels like a Resident Evil game with hidden doors, hidden areas, lots of goodies. Just overall rewards you for exploring without throwing a bunch of enemies or anything at you. So they do a good job of breaking up the pace of the game a lot. One thing I was pretty unhappy about here was that I can't think of any way to save Jock, so he will unfortunately be blowing up in the Area 51 section of the game without having any weapons. It's pretty hard to kill that mechanic guy. I'm sure that I could do it some way by dropping crates on his head and stuff. There's plenty of objects and stuff in this area, or in this map, but it's just not worth it. We do find a medbot in here, which we very much need. We still had our 4 health from the early Paris section where we walked through the radiation, which was very, very long ago. So we've been scraping by with no health for so long. Very simple. Because we can't use any items or anything, there's no point in looting Morgan Everett's house, although there are some pretty neat stuff scattered around in here. So we just talk to him and we leave. Up next, I believe, is the Vandenberg base. I'm pretty sure that's what it's called. I shake my head disapprovingly at the mechanic, who unfortunately is going to get away with his crimes today. But this Vandenberg section is both. It's very hard. I will say it's very hard. It took me a long time. There's no brick walls here, and that something I thought was going to break the run, and I'd never get through it. Vandenberg Air Force Base. That's what it is. However, just there's a ton of enemies everywhere. You have to blow bots up. You have to go through underground tunnels that are filled with spider bots. You have to lure enemies away from doors. You have to... It's just a lot. So it takes me quite a while to get through this. There is a hackable security panel kind of in the main lobby area of this building, which we do hack and are able to turn the turret to enemies, and we lure just absolute tons of enemies inside of there to have them killed, because we can't use weapons ourselves. So that's exactly what I'm going to do here as well. I'm going to turn this turret to enemies so that I can actually get in the elevator up here. There are ways to go around, but you can go through a vent on the top of the elevator and drop down. However, when you drop down at the bottom, the noise aggroes a bunch of enemies down there. So it's actually easier just to kill these guys and take the elevator like normal. It's amusing to think that a footstep of somebody jumping or hopping down will alert enemies, but somebody taking an entire elevator will not alert them. So, but game's 22 years old. We'll give it a little leeway here. Alright, both those guys are dead, so we can take the elevator. There's a particular enemy that stands right outside the door to the area that we have to go into to get Gary Savage, which is upstairs, right up that catwalk there. He is facing the door exactly, and so there is almost no way for us to get him away from that door, nowhere to hide or anything like that. And that is what took an absolutely massive amount of my time, was trying to figure out how to get him away from the door, how to get him either killed or moved or anything without dying, and it was very, very tough. So, spent a lot of time doing that. Both these turrets are now set to shoot at enemies, so I can alert these guys by throwing something and then drag them in here so that they'll just be killed. There are a couple of TNT crates on this map, however I need them to blow up 2 sentry bots that are standing outside, because we actually can, the base is on lockdown and we can't get the base off lockdown until all the bots outside are destroyed, and there's 4 of them. 2 big ones and two medium ones. You can get into a hangar, which will release your own bots, and it gives you 2 big ones. However, the 2 big ones will fight the other 2 bad big ones, and sometimes they win and sometimes they lose. They usually win, but the 2 medium ones are just too much for just 2 bots, and they die. So we're going to preemptively blow up the 2 medium bots so that the big bots are just fighting the big bots, and hopefully our bots will win, which, spoiler alert, they do. Otherwise, this run wouldn't be completed. I spent a lot of time trying to drop objects to lure that guy down and away from that door, but was unsuccessful. It's just too far away. And so that's the first keypad that we need to do, which will open a hangar that gives us access to our bot buddies. And so the second keypad is outside. It's actually outside behind a vent, and it's very nice of them because the vent is not locked. And had it been locked, we would have had to use one of our TNT crates to break it open, presumably. And but we don't have to, so we can use them on the bots. These guys, I don't know how this potted plant didn't aggro them. For whatever reason, they seem to be completely deaf. I don't know why. Footsteps and the falling object did not aggro them at all, because I was trying to lure them back into the room so that they would be killed by the turrets. Enemies will also shoot at your bots, and so if enough enemies start shooting at the bots, they will blow them up, because the bots are slow and clunky. So, and these commandos have little missiles that do a lot of damage to bots and sentries and stuff like that. So they're both dead, and I now am theoretically, I don't remember if I blow the bots up first or if I go activate that panel first. I think I initially didn't realize, so I'm trying to lure that guy down because I know I have to be up there. But no matter what, it's too far away. No matter what you do, he will not come chase down there and try to follow you. I think he has 2 TNT crates up there, so there's actually 3 total, but one of them is so impossible to get. That one that's right next to him, you'd never get it. There's almost no way to get it without alerting him and having him just instantly kill you. So you can kind of squeeze by and grab. Actually, I guess I could have grabbed either one there, but I think at some point he gets aggroed by something and turns a little bit further. Maybe after he's done with this dialogue. I'm not sure what. But I tried later when he was turned. Yep, so he turns in a different direction. Now it's impossible. So. And, I mean, just a reminder, it's kind of crazy to think about. We are on the Vandenberg Air Force Base section of the game without having used a single item or anything. That's still crazy to me to think about. So I'm now positioning my 2 crates. This section here onward is not too tough. It doesn't get tough again until you go into the tunnel to get the key, which unlocks that door that guy is so rudely guarding. That tunnel is filled to the brim with all sorts of spider bots and laser tripwires and everything, turrets and alarms, and it's very tough to do without using any items. There were a couple of sections in there I was worried I might not be able to get through, but ultimately managed to figure it out. I think I got progressively better at critical thinking the more I played this run, because things that bricked me a long time ago, it only took me a matter of a couple hours to figure out. There's 2 enemies over here that I'm actually pretty lucky that they aggroed to me from so far away, because I can lure them into this room and kill them with the turrets. Normally those guys would be outside shooting your bots, which, the bot AI is sometimes not great, and so the bots would just be being shot and not turn around and shoot back. And so I've actually had those 2 guys do pretty significant damage to my bots, which are right outside where they are. And so the fact that they aggroed to me and then died was very good luck. So you can see there that's a prime example of the bot AI giving you no quarter at all. I mean, they when they spot you, they start shooting within just a few milliseconds. You get no warning at all. So sometimes you'll turn the corner and there will be a bot there, and there's just nothing you can do. It just instantly kills you. Whereas, spider bots and players and some other types of, not players, NPCs, human NPCs, will sometimes have a lot more leeway. So I'm just going to lure this guy in here into the Chamber of Death, where all NPCs go to die. You might be wondering why that guy that's staring at the door upstairs, why I don't just try to get his attention and lure him downstairs so that I can kill him with the turrets. And the reason why that is because there's actually 2... He won't get on the elevator for obvious reasons. And so there's actually a staircase, but it's way further back. And there are 2 Majestic 12 guys, one of whom has a sniper rifle. And if you remember what I was talking about before, anybody who has a sniper rifle will insta-kill you. And so it's almost impossible to aggro. I mean, it is impossible to aggro just that one guy without getting the other 2 guys and running away and him not insta-killing you in the back. So it pretty much can't be done. And so that's unfortunately not an option. Right, so we've activated both panels, which unlocks this bunker thing here. We then activate the bots so that they will shoot the other bots and take the base off lockdown. Once they take the base off lockdown, that other building will open up, which gives us access to the spider bot tunnels, and we can get the key, go back there, and talk to Gary Savage. After this is the sub-base section, which is another section that made me almost want to quit my run. But the further and further down the run I got, and the closer to the end I got, the less willing I was to quit, and the more motivated I got. And so I think the bots just killed one of them. Yep. And so now it's 2 bots versus 1, and they should win that fight pretty easily, which means the base will be off lockdown shortly. But as I was saying, the closer I got to the end, you can kind of see the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. So I would take a lot more time, and I was a little bit more patient, whereas before I wasn't quite so much. My bots turn around and kind of walk around a building here and are nowhere close to seeing the other enemy. And so it'll be a little bit of time here before they cross paths again. So you can see here I intentionally lure that bot out. And the whole fight here is actually pretty interesting. You know, you can see the little projectiles flying through the sky. They're shooting missiles and stuff. Sometimes it's fun to go into no clip and just watch these little bot battles. Okay, so now all the bots are dead. The base is off lockdown, which means that I can now get into this comm building, which has a bunch of friendly NPCs inside of it. And they will grant me access to the terrible tunnels where I have to fight spider bots. I'm actually, during this run, I've played a lot more of the beginning of the game than I have later in the game, because obviously, when I was a kid and a teen or whatever, I wouldn't, finish every playthrough I started, and so I've played the first map like 1,000 times, the second map 800 times, the third map 600 times, so on and so forth. So I've actually only beaten this section probably 30 or 40 times, which seems like a lot, but over the course of 22 years, you start to forget stuff. And so I was listening to his dialogue because I wasn't actually sure where to go or what to do, or if I even had to necessarily be down here. So what I'm going to do is these bots don't actually do too much damage, but they sap your bioelectric energy, which is annoying. But I'm going to turn this turret onto enemies, and the spider bots, for some reason, will not attack you while you're in a computer menu. And so I'm waiting for the turret to kill the two bots before I continue on. So now that the two bots are, well, one of them was dead. I don't think it killed. Nope, didn't kill either of them. Again, I don't have sound because I took my headset off because the mic picks up everything I do if I wear it, so it's on the table. So I have no sound, so I couldn't hear if the bots were dead or not. I think the bots were just out of sight from the turret to where the turret wouldn't shoot it, and so I had to kind of do a little loop here, which was unfortunate. So you can see I'm sizing up the lasers here, and I take a save. I figure out that you can go through a water section here, and even with no skill points in swimming at all, if you do it just right and kind of hug the ceiling there, you can get through without taking any chest damage. Although I'm not too damaged, so I had a little bit of chest damage to spare anyway. But there's a key down here which will let you get to a like mechanic gate that will let you on the rafters above a massive radioactive section that you would not be able to get through normally. I spent a lot of time in this section trying to figure out what the best way to get through it was. I was not actually aware that that mechanic key was there, and so I only uncovered that after about 15 minutes of searching around, and then discovered what the best route was to get through this section. So there are tripwires here which you can actually hop around if you're good enough. If you do end up activating it, all that happens is a couple spider bots come out, which really isn't the end of the world. But it will close that door and not let you come back out that door. But that doesn't matter because we're leaving out a different door anyway. On my first attempts, I tried to run through this radioactive section to see if you could run from start to finish before you died. But it does an incredible amount of damage, and without a hazmat suit or something like that, I don't think it's possible. So here, I just kind of sneak around the spider bot, which actually doesn't even fully aggro to me. It just, I spook it and it looks at me, but it doesn't fully aggro. So now I'm able to run out the side here. Activating those lasers will activate a turret, which is on the back end. However, since we're leaving that area anyway, it doesn't really matter. And in this section here, I actually forgot that that dead corpse has a key next to it that I need. And so you'll see me come up here, take a save, and then realize that I didn't grab the key, and I have to go back down. Alright, so now we need to get in that door where the really annoying enemy is guarding. This section here took me probably about, again, maybe, trying not to exaggerate, maybe 20, 30, 40 minutes, something like that. I tried many times. I actually got past him one time, unlocked the door and ran through. But what I didn't realize was there's a load zone right at that door. And so after you do this whole next section, you have to come back out that door. And when I came back, he was just waiting for me in the doorway. And there was absolutely no way for me to get through without dying. And so it cost me a lot of time. I had to revert, cut back 2 or 3 segments worth, and ruined about 40 minutes to an hour worth of work. And then I had to start back from scratch and then kind of do what I did here. What I ultimately decide to do is to aggro him over to the elevator so that I can get his line of sight away from that door, and then I go downstairs and then I aggro him downstairs, so he'll run down this walkway here, because they'll try to run to wherever they last saw you. And so he runs all the way down that staircase that's at the far corner over there, and then I come up behind him and block off the staircase with a metal crate or two. And so he can't get back. And so he's stuck permanently on that staircase trying to return, but can't because his way is blocked. And then I'm free to leave, come and go from that door that's up there. You can pick up that little dolly looking thing that we passed by a couple times, and you technically can use that to block the doorways. However, you can see I'm trying to get his attention, but am unsuccessful until now. Finally, I'm successful. But those are destructible, and if they walk into it for long enough, it will destroy, and they will just walk back to wherever area they're at. So you can see I'm continuously trying to aggro him. Now that I saw him go back in that direction, I'm fairly certain he's going to start coming down those stairs. So I set up one crate preemptively. Now I'm going to go put the other one down and try to block those stairs, or at least the catwalk. And that way they won't be able to come back. So you can see I was actually going to come over here and kill them, potentially with this. But when I turn the corner and look, there's actually nobody there. And so I decide the easier method is just to block this this doorway up here so they can't come back to where they were. And that makes them no longer an issue for this run. Coming up is some neat little platforming with a big electricity sort of thing, where the electricity will kill you if it touches you. We use a trick with a box that we pull from upstairs to kind of get around that a little bit. The spider bots sapped all of our eyeball light bulb juice, but we can use that repair bot to get some of it back. We can get the key for upstairs off the little dolly right there, and then grab our crate, which we will then use to climb up on to get over and out of the way from some areas that would otherwise kill you if you tried to walk past them. So there's a switch over there that activates a elevator that will come down. So you can hop perfectly between the beams here and they won't hurt you. And if you kind of slowly slide over to the right, you can hit the switch for the elevator and then hop back between the beams. I actually biff it upstairs. I try to make a jump and I come up short and fall all the way back down. But I'm able to recover, thankfully. However, I then realized that the elevator is in the wrong spot, and so I fail to hop up on here. Not my proudest moment, but we get it fixed pretty quick. So once you download the or uplink the whatever you're, once you press the button on the computer, it deactivates the entire laser field. Up next, we are going to, once we leave this area, we are going to that one, I can't remember what it's called, but the place where you're supposed to save Tiffany. Unfortunately, because of the room that she's in and the guards that are posted everywhere nearby, we cannot save her. So our main goal for that map will be to alert the guards and cause them to shoot, which will then alert the whole map and cause them to kill Tiffany, unfortunately. And then Jacques will touch down, and then we can leave. I tried to do a survey of the area to see if there was any way I could think of to save her, because I actually forgot to talk to Gary Savage here. I forgot that he talks to you before he leaves. So he chased me, and eventually I figured out he was chasing me, and then I decided to have dialogue with him. So, but I tried to do a survey to see if there was any way I could save her easily, without taking 12 hours of time, and the answer came up a resounding, I don't think so. So here is a certified skip moment. We are just running all the way down to the other end of the map to talk to Jock, who is touching down over there. So it's just walking in a straight line for a very, very long period of time. So skip forward maybe 30, 40 seconds. So again, in this next map, it's going to touch us down kind of in this lower level area. There's a door that we have to go through to be able to climb up a ladder to get to the upper area. The developers were nice enough to put a key to that door at the other end of the map. Again, had they not done that, I don't know how we would have gotten up there or what we would have done, but they did. So we have to run all the way over there, grab that, run all the way back. Again, another skip, maybe 20 seconds if you are keen on saving time. There's actually a Majestic 12 trooper that has a sawed-off shotgun behind the gas station. That is the easiest and safest troop to aggro, because if you're at a distance, he effectively can't hurt you. However, I didn't know he was there during this run, and so while it would seem the tactical choice to aggro the guy with the crappy gun, and looks good on paper, I didn't know he was there and lucked into him, and figured out that that's the most optimal way to set the map alert active. So you'll see that There's a guy out front, commando on the side. I go around back and then randomly start getting shot at, and you can see the visible panic as I'm, caught off guard. And then I realize that, oh hey, it worked out. So I climb up on these rocks to get kind of a gauge on where everything is. You can see him on the screen there, and of course I'm getting shot at, and I'm confused and not sure where I'm getting shot at from. He sets off the alarm, which will cause the enemies inside the mechanic shop over there to kill Tiffany. However, he did not alert the guards that were outside, so that's even extra helpful. It really couldn't have lucked out much better than that. So that worked out very, very well for this run. Overall, this didn't take a lot of time at all, and it was very lucky, and this map is almost already done. Here, I'm just avoiding enemy line of sight to get to Jock, who's in a courtyard over there. Spoiler alert, I get there, so if you want to skip a little bit, you can. I'm trying to think if there's any super interesting or crazy tricks that happen on later in the run. Two of the biggest highlights were the Gep gun chair knocking the trooper off onto the helipad trick that took me forever to put together, as well as the mausoleum ordeal where you use the pillow to damage the invisible explodable object and then bounce the crate, yada yada yada. I'm not sure. There's an interesting section coming up at the sub base area where there are some rotating enemies that pretty much have lines of sight that all overlap and there's nowhere to hide. So we abuse some vault door mechanic where if you hold W and D um, against the flow of the door opening, it will clip you inside the door. And the door is large enough to house your entire player model, basically. And you can use that to hide from an enemy, even if he's staring right at you. And you can see him, as per normal. It will shield you from his line of sight. And so this section coming up would be very, very difficult, if not nigh on impossible without that trick. I'm very glad that I figured that out. And it took me quite a lot of testing, quite a lot of attempts. I spent a ton of time on this map, probably the better part of about 2 hours, just trying to figure out how exactly to get through it. So here we're jumping in the water. We need to get to the very tail end of that base. And there are only two entrances to get in there. One of the entrances is up through a little ladder into like a moon pool sort of thing, or like a sub bay. The other entrance is way back on land, which we originally started at. However, you need to lockpick the door or use some sort of way to get in. There's a key, but it's hidden inside of a shed that you need to lockpick or break the glass to get into, neither of which we can do. So we are forced to come up through the little sub-bay area in here. And unfortunately, it's covered by these scuba divers, which have tranquilizer darts. Very annoying if they aggro to you. We successfully avoid them on this particular segment. Once you get inside, you have to make your way all the way across an outdoor catwalk that has a guy with a flamethrower that patrols the entire catwalk, as well as a sniper that patrols above the catwalk. There are so many enemies here, it becomes almost impossible to get through them without aggroing anybody. And so we have to use the door trick to keep the guy with the flamethrower from seeing us, and then also wait an inordinate amount of time for the sniper to be in the right position to where he'll turn and not see us. There's also this guy in this room right here. So the catwalk is right outside that door right there that I'm kind of looking at. This guy will patrol this room all the way around, so you can't hide in the room, you can't hide outside. It's an extremely difficult part that I was starting to worry I might not be able to do, but then I discovered that door trick, and you'll see it coming up here shortly. So now that we wait for him to turn around, we go out the door. This is the catwalk I was referring to, and that's the guy with the flamethrower. You can see I immediately try to clip myself into the door. There's like a really perfect spot that you have to be in. If you do it too much, you'll clip through the door, kind of like what you saw earlier. If you don't do it enough, you won't clip into the door. And there's a certain spot, there I go through it again. There's a certain spot you have to be in, which you'll see coming up shortly. So I'm almost there, but again, not quite, just barely. I'm starting to worry at this point that I haven't done it, but now I'm clipped inside of the door. You can tell that because it'll say unlocked kind of in the center of my screen, which tells me that I'm pretty perfectly centered in the door, and this flamethrower guard that's coming down will not actually see me, even though I'm standing right in front of him, because I'm clipped effectively through a door. And so this is another good area to skip a few times. The sniper on the roof, and I know this because I've done this a couple times at this point, is not in the correct spot. So he has to be kind of on the edge of the roof facing the opposite direction. There's a little L shape where he will see us and an L shape that he won't see us. And so right now he is in the incorrect place for us to follow behind this flamethrower trooper to try to get across the catwalk. So I'm waiting here for a full cycle for them to kind of get more into sync so I can safely make it across. Again, if that sniper guy sees us, it's a one-hit kill, and they have incredibly long line of sight. There's nowhere to hide from him. There's no cover, so it's very, very hard to be able to get across there. You can tell I'm looking up. When he turns to walk across, you can see the edge of his sniper rifle clip over the edge of the roof, so you can kind of use that to gauge where he is, and you can kind of see it there, but again, the map is so dark that maybe on the video you can't, but rest assured that I could. So your crouching speed is actually slightly faster than the enemy's patrol walk speed, and so we're kind of maintaining distance here to stay as close behind him. I know from experience that when he turns, he's going to turn to the right and kind of take a half step, and so that will allow us to line up perfectly to where he will not see us when he turns. And now we have made it across the catwalk. So that door clipping is another cool trick. There's one other really cool trick that I can think of off the top of my head where in the missile silo section you have to kill Howard Stern, I believe his name is, and we have no weapons, and he is on the top of a like a scissor lift or something, and I spent a very long time trying to figure out how to kill him, and I almost don't even want to spoil it because the way that we kill him is extremely amusing. It also took me like an hour to figure out. So here I'm turning the turret onto enemy mode. This is another section where he almost activated the alarm, but didn't. Even if he had, it wouldn't really have mattered. I shake my head disapprovingly at his futile efforts to sound the alarm. This is another section where we can lure enemies into here to help get rid of them and clear this path out for the road ahead. And so in previous run-throughs, I was actually able to get to this security panel without alerting this guy. But in this one, it does alert him. And so I'm not entirely sure where that is. Either way, he's getting lured into the death trap here, so he won't be a problem. Alright, so he's dead. Somebody else that also aggroed as well is dead. And I believe there is one more group of people. I need on this security terminal to open the bay doors that are downstairs so that I can drive the little submarine away, and as well as turn off all the cameras so I'm not being constantly harassed. Here, somehow I aggro another guy. I'm not really sure where he comes from. I don't really see him until he's already running down the stairs at me. But either way, he very soon will not be a problem. So in the mausoleum section, the effect that you see from the damaged invisible object next to the generator looks very close to that. And so I'm wondering if the developers didn't make an invisible texture for an explosive barrel or something. But it doesn't explode with as much of a radius as an explosive barrel, so maybe not, but hard to tell. So this is the Pasadena Ocean Lab, I believe is what this particular section is called. I know the maps by my brain. I don't know them by name, unfortunately. So there are some turrets in here that we can set to enemies. There's a particular turret section down a hallway that is really, really obnoxious. And there's going to be a section that's very skippable where I very, very slowly push a metal crate in front of it so it will not shoot me every time I walk past. There are some greasels in here that I have to lure out into a main area where they will be killed by a turret. Because if a greasel hits me with its poison, it's a death sentence. On the 4th tick of damage, you will always die on realistic difficulty, at least as far as I can tell. So I'm kind of surveying the room a little bit, checking everything out. I believe I'm looking for a crate, so I kind of go off on a tangent here. I believe I'm looking for a crate to block that turret with. However, I don't end up finding one. I'm looking for a metal crate that it can't shoot through. But I don't believe I find one, and then I end up getting stuck behind a pole here. Then I ultimately just decide to go for it anyway. Unbeknownst to me, once I push the big metal crate forward to block the turret, the room that is to the right of that has a metal crate in it, which I can then use to finish the job and block the turret completely. But for whatever reason, at this point, I don't know that. So down here is where the turret is. I immediately hide behind the crate here and very, very, very slowly push it up. And so this is another good opportunity to skip ahead, 15, 20 seconds. Eventually the crate stops moving and I discover there's a dead body in the way. However, you can kind of reach through objects, certain objects in this game. And so I am able to pull the body after looting it, unfortunately. Pull the body out, throw it, and then continue pushing the crate. For whatever reason, the pickup and the loot, options are one and the same. And so if you want to pick up a dead body, you have to take everything off the body first. So you can see I have to pick up the assault rifle, throw the body. I discovered that you can't actually hit tab to throw an object while you're crouched. I'm not sure why that is. So I was trying to throw the gun away there, but the game wouldn't let me. There's also a key that we need. I forgot to mention that. So part of the reason why you can't just try to book it past this hallway is that the room that is down the hallway that you need to go to is locked, and the key is right there. So they make you go through this area to try to, unless you want to lockpick it or do whatever else you have to do to get to that door. So here's the little crate I can stack up to try to cover that turret up. I get shot there, and then I overthrow the crate, and so it doesn't land exactly where I want it to, and so I have to kind of push the There it's not shooting me, but I'm afraid if I walk further back it still will. And so I'm pushing the big crate up forward, and that way I can throw it right in front of it, like so. And it is completely covered, and I don't think can shoot me again. Here in the lab, we have to aggro the greasels out into the main area where we have already moved the turret over to shoot enemies. And here I kind of bait it in, and actually I try to. I think it gets lost along the way. Usually they'll chase you pretty quickly and pretty ferociously, but for whatever reason this one gets stuck. So that one's dead, and I now have to go lure the other one out. There's also in the area that we have to drop down into. Every time I walk by that turret, it scares me, and so you can see me always pause and look because it surprises me every time I walk past it. Alright, so that's those two dead. In the little area that we have to drop down into, it's like a flooded kind of office area. There's a greasel swimming around. I discovered after a bit of testing that either they can't hear you at all, or swimming makes no noise. I haven't discovered which one it is yet. And so if you wait for the greasel to path away, you can actually slip in behind it. You can see I took a save there. You can path in behind it and kind of scoot around it and leave. When you come back through here after you do whatever you need to do down at the ocean lab, there will be a diver down here as the game adds some enemies to fight along the way. Oddly enough, the diver and the greasel do not fight. They will not aggro to one another, and I really don't know why that is. But they will both just kind of swim around in tandem and will not attack one another, except you have to dodge both on your way out, which is a little annoying. So at the end of this, once we get down and complete our objective and we come back, Walton Simons is going to be waiting for us in this area right here. However, like every antagonist in this game, he wants to talk to us first, and so we can just outrun him. There are two greasels in the corner over here that will chase you ferociously. You can turn on this little panel here, which will activate this lightning on the tracks. And you can see I get very good at dodging greasel poison because they are desperately trying to poison me, and I am desperately trying to escape it. And so this one, I killed one of them. I'm trying to lure the other one into the laser spikes, or the electricity, rather, but don't quite get it. And I'm having really terrible luck, but I'm also being very good at dodging the poison and ultimately kill it. There are some baby Karkians in the corner over there, but I have no interest in trying to aggro them. We don't need to go over there. There's a key that we need that is being kind of guarded or stuck in a room with a big Karkian, but he is busy crouching on a dead body, and we don't need to aggro him, so we won't. So now that we have the key, we can move into the back area here, which will take us through some barracks that are not currently housing anybody. And then we will be able to continue moving down and deeper towards our objective, which is coming up here very shortly. And then after that, we have to navigate all the way back through the base, all the way back up. Jock will land down kind of on top of the building near where we spawn, and we have to go all the way back there. But then we will be able to leave and go to the next map. The next map is the missile silo. I forget exactly if that's what the map is called, but that's the gist of it. That was an extremely frustrating map that took many, many hours for me to be able to get through. There's dogs everywhere on the entire outside of the compound, and the only way to get inside the compound is through a building filled with Majestic 12 soldiers. It is very, very tough, and I was not a happy lad trying to get through that. But with the end so close in sight, I was not about to give up. So here, I take a save, and then I do quite a few test runs where it all fails, and then I delete the footage, and then revert to the save, because there are some lasers over there that will activate spider bots. However, my plan is to use a throwable object to break the lasers. I don't think that it will stop lasers from activating. I think it's a set of lasers that if you break it, even with an object, they still activate. However, I'm hoping that that will allow me to somehow abuse the AI in a way where I can get past it. I missed my turn here, and then hopefully work it out that way. What I don't know until I test it with the potted plant here is that after it activates the spider bots, for some reason, all of the spider bots then deactivate shortly after that. I have no idea why. If they don't spot you or aggro to anything, they just turn back off again. Which, needless to say, is very handy, because trying to dodge spider bots, forever while you're navigating this next part would be very annoying. It spawns like 4 or maybe even 6 of them, I can't remember. So we're going to block the lasers, which is going to release the bots. However, if we go hide, like so, and don't trip the lasers again, they will never aggro to us, and they'll run around for a minute, and they'll remain outside their little, habitats, but they will not hurt us at all, or aggro to us later. So after waiting an appropriate amount of time, where they have probably deactivated by now, I assume I then leave my hiding spot. You can see there are spider bots everywhere, but even though I'm staring directly at them and even hop on them, and in fact I think I can break the lasers after that, as I do here, but now that they've already been activated, they won't activate again, and because they did not see an immediate threat, they all deactivated, and so they're now, effectively bricked. There's a big spider bot in here, but he walks very slow and in very predictable patterns, so he's not entirely too difficult to kite around. So like a lot of the missions in this game, we're going all the way upstairs. There's some computer terminal we're going to log into and click a button, and then it's going to download or upload or do something, and then we run all the way back through the base again. So we're going to activate a little computer panel here, which is going to allow us to release a drawbridge, and once it does that, we can go in there and log into the terminal. Oh, we're accessing schematics this time, which is what we're doing. I think here I wait, because these maps are so dark, I think I wait for that entire repair bot to refresh its energy again, and so just to pass the time, I hit the spider bot with a TNT crate, but one TNT crate is not enough to kill it, so I just mostly piss it off. So now we're making our way back through the little ocean lab here. Up in that area that I mentioned before, Walton Simons is going to spawn, but if we don't talk to him, he won't turn hostile yet. And so if we just outrun him, we can move straight across. If you don't kill him in this section, he actually pops up in the Area 51 section, which is the final mission of the game. That actually complicates things quite a bit because he runs out of his area almost immediately once you cross a certain threshold at the beginning of the map. And if you are not super quick, then it's like you're constantly on a timer. So you have to go here and do this thing before he catches up to you, because he'll talk to you and then immediately turn hostile and kill you, which makes it almost impossible. So there's actually a method where you could maybe go in the front door. However, because you're on that timer, you can't really do so. So I just thought of two other very interesting tricks involving a fan and fan blades in Area 51. So that's fairly interesting. And I've already forgotten what the second trick was, but I'm sure it will come back to me. Oh, the second trick is also in Area 51 where we abuse dead body clipping through a wall to activate a lamb, which blows up and opens a door for us. So here's where Walton Simons will pop out. He's running around in there somewhere. You can see him kind of sprinting towards us. So I'm going to try to outrun him as fast as I can. Slip through this door here, which takes forever to open. There's a load zone that is coming up, which will allow us to desync from the zone that he's in. And there's a water here, which will now have a diver in it, as well as a greasel. And there's not really much that we can do other than wait for them to kind of both turn in the same direction, so that if the diver aggroes to us, it's not the biggest of deals. Sometimes they take a second to see us, and even if they shoot us with a tranquilizer dart, it doesn't really ultimately matter. However, he chooses a lamb. I'm not sure why. It's a poor choice for close range combat, but that's ultimately what he decided on. So we make it through here. I get spooked by the turret again. Now we're moving back up through the facility. We're going to take the sub back to the main section and then work our way back through that facility up to the rooftop where Jock will be waiting to take us to the missile silo. And that about concludes part 3. The final part is missile silo in Area 51. So